My name is Jitesh Lalwani. I'm the founder and CEO of Artificial Brain. Okay, let me try to use this. So today I'm going to talk about how to combine quantum computing with satellite data for some of the use cases, especially in maritime efficiency or oceans sustainability. Artificial Brain is a quantum software company and we develop optimization software, quantum machine learning algorithms for aerospace, energy and defense. Our expertise is applying quantum to space data. It can be normal images or even hyperspectral images. This is our main offering, Planck, which is quantum software as a service platform, and our goal is to help business users to leverage the power of quantum computing even if they don't understand what is quantum. They can define the problem statement in simple English statement and give the high level inputs in the form of an Excel or a CSV and just submit. Just click on the submit button. What the platform does is that it takes the input, convert that into a quantum solution and can run it on any hardware. This use case is specifically we ran on D-Wave almost 2 years ago. This is energy demand optimization use case. So today I am going to talk about vessel routing optimization. This is a very interesting use case. Yes, it is NP hard problem. The goal is how we can optimize the fuel cost, but also how we can reduce CO2 emissions. Logistics, especially vessels, they contribute 3% to the CO2 emission. So there's a lot of pressure on them to also reduce CO2 emission apart from the cost, and there's also a great market opportunity. The market was around $2 billion in 2024 and it will be double in the next 9 to 10 years. So our solution is that we combine satellite data with quantum computing, especially quantum annealing, which we can run on D-Wave hardware, and this is truly a dynamic path optimization. So there can be change in weather, there can be many parameters that can change on the fly, and since we are using satellite data, we take weather API and other kind of data and combine it with quantum annealing, and this is how the solution will look like. So we can take data from weather APIs, we can take hyperspectral images and detect algae blooms. We also have a product on this which I will talk about that in a bit, and then we can enhance optimization using quantum technology, which we can run it on D-Wave. We already did a small POC, even though we did not get a chance to run on D-Wave, which we will be doing it shortly. But here we took, as you can see on the screen left hand side, we took data from all kind of satellite, weather APIs and so on, and then applied quantum to that. This is how the overall architecture looks like. There are basically 3 layers. The top layer is the Planck platform. It takes input from the user. Then we have data and execution layer, and then finally we apply our proprietary quantum algorithm, run it on quantum hardware, and then the results can be either displayed or can be downloaded, and this can be also used via an API. So this is some of the value proposition for this kind of use case, where companies can not only optimize their cost, but can also reduce CO2 emission, and it's not very hard for them to get a ROI in the next 12 months. They can easily optimize around 100 plus vessels using the technology now. They don't have to wait for next 5 to 10 years. So now I would like to talk about a similar use case, and this is where we have thoroughly benchmarked our quantum software which we ran on D-Wave hardware, and this was almost 2 years ago. So this is about satellite scheduling. On the left hand side you can see an image that there are a lot of constraints such as energy storage limit, downlink window time, and these satellites are always moving, right? So you can imagine that there's no time for the satellite companies to come up with a schedule. It has to be done almost in real time. And on the right hand side you can see why this is one of the most challenging problems to be solved. There can be more than one satellite, there can be n number of satellites, and all of them are continuously moving, and some of the images might be overlapping. So everything has to be done at runtime. These are some of the benchmarking results. Before talking about this benchmarking, I want to tell you that we are not here to claim anything. We are not claiming quantum supremacy. We are just showing the results that we got, and in fact D-Wave was not even aware about these results unless we published the paper. It was peer reviewed, accepted to IEEE as well. So on the left hand side you can see that there are 3 lines. I mean, they are not lines but 3 colors. So blue one is quantum, which is not visible for 20 targets. Then orange is simulated annealing, and the third one is the classical optimizer, Garobi optimizer, which is in gray color. So with very low number of targets, you can see that Garobi and quantum almost performed at the same level. It was very hard to differentiate the accuracy of the performance. But when we increase the number of targets to 100, you start to see the difference. That the quantum, which is again in the blue color, it was giving far better accuracy than Garobi. And then again, when we increase the target to 1000, you can see the gap increasing between simulated annealing, quantum and Garobi optimizer. Again, we are not claiming anything, but this is what we observed while we were benchmarking our software. And for this software, we also won prize at the European Space Agency. So we have got already some traction for this particular use case. Again, this is a very interesting benchmarking result. Not many people talk about this particular type of benchmarking. So most of the companies are benchmarking only on the accuracy and the speed. But what we did, we went one step ahead and we said, okay, let's try to figure out which of the algorithm is also able to satisfy all the constraints irrespective of the data size. So again, we started with a very small data set. Quantum satisfied all the constraints. Simulated annealing couldn't satisfy 10%, approximately 10% of all the constraints. And then Garobi couldn't satisfy 6%. But then again, you can see when we went to 1000 targets, you can again see that there's the difference between quantum, simulated annealing and Garobi was a lot, right? So simulated annealing unfortunately couldn't satisfy constraint even for a single data point, and Garobi couldn't satisfy for 32%, whereas quantum was able to satisfy all the constraint. And what we did is, when we were running this benchmarking, many times we had to manually stop Garobi or simulated annealing because they went into infinite loop. They were not able to find global optima, whereas quantum was always able to find global optima. Again, a disclaimer, even D-Wave was not aware about this particular problem statement until unless we published the technical paper. This is our product for hyperspectral auto labeling. Hyperspectral images capture hundreds of wavelengths, and they can have as high as 239 bands. When we talk about RGB, we only have 3 bands, red, green and blue. But for here, it can have as high as 239 bands, and the single image can be around 1.5 GB, and it can go upwards to 7 GB as well. You can consider this as a CT scan, right? So what it does is it tells the property of any object, and it can be captured either using satellite or a drone, and it has obviously dual usage. It can be used for commercial as well as for defense applications. So when we were working on a proposal for European Space Agency, we wanted to use just quantum machine learning to detect objects using hyperspectral images. But then we encountered a very interesting problem statement that there was no labeled data set, meaning there was no data set available even to train quantum machine learning. And that's how we started to work on this particular problem statement. What this software does is quite simple, that business users can upload hyperspectral images. They can provide reference point as low as 20 reference point of an object that they are trying to detect, and our quantum machine learning algorithm can be trained only on 20 reference point. We initially detected pine trees. We got data from Prisma satellite, which is from European satellite. It's publicly available data set, anyone can download it. Initially we tested with pine trees. We had ground truth data. We also compared the result of our hyperspectral and the ground truth, and we got a very good accuracy, as high as 95%. Then we started to test on other areas as well. We tested with different kind of vegetations, and one day accidentally we also detected aircrafts, and that was never the goal of this particular use case. We were just trying to solve a problem which we faced while submitting a proposal to European Space Agency, but then we came across a paper which was written by a remote sensing engineer who was working with the University of California, and he started to experiment with quantum, specifically quantum machine learning, and he started to apply QML on remote sensing data, and then he published a paper that even with small data set, he was able to get a very good accuracy, and that was a turning point where we said, okay, let's also explore quantum machine learning for data sets such as hyperspectral, which can be huge in GBs. We also detected seagrass, and seagrass was below the water 4 meters to 40 meters, and again we never expected this. On the left hand side you can see image which we have taken from Google Maps. This is from Bahamas, and on the right hand side you can see the output of our software. The white pixels that you can see is seagrass that our software detected using just few data points. Then we also detected algae bloom, and that was originally the idea to use quantum machine learning. What we did, which I have not added here, we also benchmarked this particular quantum machine learning software, because when we talk with our customers, they don't believe, right, until unless you show them that you have benchmarked with the existing solution. So we tested this quantum machine learning algorithm against classical ML. We ran through all the ML models which are available over there, and we found two interesting observations, rather three interesting observations. Even with a few data points, quantum machine learning was able to be trained and detect objects, which was not possible with classical ML. With classical ML, you require at least thousands of data points. Second, the time that it took us to to detect objects, because as I said, a single image can be anywhere between 1.5 GB to 7 GB. The software gave results in seconds, and we again tested with a very small area, then we tested with a very big area. For example, again this seagrass, this area is very huge, and it was again able to detect seagrass below the water. The third observation was then we plotted ROC curve, because that is a common technique to figure out what is the accuracy of any ML model. So quantum was able to give better ROC curve as compared to classical ML models, but again a disclaimer here. We because this is a gate based architecture, you cannot run quantum machine learning on D-Wave until now. We ran it on several different hardware, including IBM, IonQ and Rigetti, and we also ran on quantum simulator. What we found out is that if you run on actual hardware, because of noise, we were not getting a very good accuracy, but when we ran it on simulators, we got good accuracy. Again, we did a lot of optimization. With that optimization, the accuracy increased, but what we found out is that it's okay if you don't have quantum hardware, you can still leverage quantum simulators, which are a trade-off, which is a balance between classical ML and quantum hardware, because they mimic the behavior of quantum. And we have presented this paper. We have wrote a technical paper which we presented last year at the SPI Defense Conference, and it has been peer reviewed and published. So anyone can download and can see this paper. The last thing that we detected was ships and inventory. Again, with a very small data points, we were able to detect that. Again, these are some of the use cases which we have benchmarked already. Papers are technically, the technical papers are peer reviewed. Anyone can download and read the papers. Again, we are not claiming anything, but we are just presenting what we have observed with these use cases. So with that, thank you for your time.